Turning Point's White House correspondent, Monica Page. Monica Page, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but that doesn't mean the White House kind of stops what they're doing. One of the big announcements that I think the president made today, as of recently, is Antifa is now a domestic terrorist organization. Now, according to Joe Biden, Antifa doesn't exist. All of those buildings in Portland just kind of broke windows on their own. The 100 nights of rioting there is just kind of people out there, doing their thing. What is he saying? What does this mean that Antifa is now a domestic terrorist organization?
Yeah, I mean, they were just peaceful protesters, right? I mean, it was, they're just being peaceful. They're just, exercising their First Amendment right through violence. Of course, it's always justified on the left.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a significant move from this administration because for far too long, we've seen what Antifa does. I mean, if you hadn't seen it in LA, Portland, Seattle, then you're sure as heck seeing it now with these attacks on more moderate right-wing influencers, conservatives. I mean, even our own president of the United States. But what is going to be interesting, Joe Bob, and I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out, is that Antifa is a short name for anti-fascist, as we know, but it's not actually a name of an organization. They're decentralized intentionally for reasons like this. So putting a stop to money, which is what the president is looking at right now, like all these NGOs that maybe funnel money to these specific organizations that maybe we don't know about, these underground groups that put up flyers and propaganda and funding equipment, funding the gas masks, all the kinds of things that we see at these protests. So putting a stop to the money helps, but finding and pinpointing specific people is not going to be easy. As you know, they always hide the faces. They go by different names. They're on these different servers. So it's going to be a little tricky, but it's a great step forward. And honestly, I think it should have been done sooner.
Yeah, and I think that it gives them more leverage to find out, hey, where did this big pallet of bricks come on the side of the streets in Minneapolis that were used to be thrown through the window of this AutoZone or whatever it is? Yeah, I think if it aids them in figuring that out, I totally agree with you. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a difficult task, especially when you have half the country denying that they exist, and then also saying, well, they're anti-fascists. They're just doing, everything that fascists would do by trying to block free speech. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to watch play out. Monica, president was also in the UK recently, the biggest table I think I've ever seen at the UK state dinner. Tell us about what was going on there. Anything discussed that was interesting between the president and the king. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was a very beautiful reception, as you saw. I mean, the First Lady looked incredible as well. Everyone was dressed to the nines. But what I thought was probably one of the most interesting things is that this banquet table, like you just mentioned, it was 155 feet long. There were
Jeez.
139 candles. And the main
Wow.
course was chicken Ballantine. I don't think I've ever had that. If you ask me what that is, I don't think I could tell you what that is. I don't know what that entails, but we know the president does not drink alcohol. We know, I think his brother was an alcoholic, but but after dinner guests were served this 1945 vintage port in honor of the president, and also a 1912 cognac from President Trump's mother's birth year. So they really found ways to honor him, really thoughtful. Of course, we saw that awesome flyover as well.
Yeah.
But he was really well received there. I think that the royal family and the monarchy over there has a great relationship with the president, inviting him, welcoming him with open arms. They even played like a little bit of music during I think during the dinner. You Can't Always Get What You Want by Rolling Stones and Tiny Dancer. So of course the president loves his classics, and I think he's on his way back now. I think he's departing as we speak, heading over to JBA. He's landing around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So by the time your show airs tonight, he'll likely be arriving right back at the White House and ready to head over to Arizona this weekend.
Monica, I'm going to ask you to put on your editorial hat. Does it count if you're sitting at that dinner table? Do you get to tell your friends, oh, I had dinner with the president of the United States? Or if you're 150 feet away from him, does that really count? Is that like something that you can say, oh yeah, we sat at the president's table, half a football field away?
Yes, it still counts. I mean, if you can still
Okay.
kind of see him, yeah. Whenever I see the president, I'm like, yeah, I was hanging out with the president on the South Lawn, no big deal. So, I
Yeah.
think anytime you could say you got to be with the president in
Mm.
some capacity, I think you take that opportunity.
Yeah, well, if that's the standard, I'm currently with the president as we are both on planet Earth. So thank you, Mr.
Yes.
President, for hanging out. Really appreciate you being here.
Mhm.
Monica Page, Turning Point's White House correspondent. Thanks so much for checking in.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.